So today's topic, I want to talk about fundamental instructions, task F, techniques of flight instruction. I want to give you general ideas of the all elements given or mentioned in PTS. After listening to my video, watching my video, I will strongly recommend you to read Aviation Instruction Handbook, which is really good. Again, let's get started. So when we are going to give flight instruction, we need to know what are the obstacles we might face. So there are many obstacles. FA gives us a list of few obstacles. One, it can be if the student feel that he is not treated fairly. And when that can happen is, remember, students try really hard to impress instructor. But at certain time, if the student think that his efforts and his work is not appreciated, not accepted, then he would feel frustrated. He will also feel frustrated that if the student thinks that instructor is asking undesirable growth in the performance which is not able to cope up with. If you as an instructor suspect that, please talk to student, please keep him informed, please have transparency, give him sub goals if he's not able to achieve certain goals. Remember, every student is different, so transparency, motivation, encouragement, and keep him informed will help us to overcome this obstacle of feeling unfairly treated. Second obstacle is impatience. FA says impatience can be one of the biggest obstacle in flight instruction. That can happen because if the student, he just want to do what makes him feel good and just want to get in the fun stuff, exciting stuff, and want to ignore the other tasks or skills or maneuvers. As an instructor, if you think he is doing such, then we should talk to student, encourage him, and tell them the importance of all the skills, all the maneuvers, and how those maneuvers and skills are going to help them to become safe pilot. One of the impatience example would be student is desperately want to get solo done, but as an instructor we need to make sure that he knows all the skills and he has all the knowledge, maneuvers knowledge before he goes for solo. The third one can be anxiety. If student does not believe in instructor, if student is feeling fearful or he has a general fear of small airplane or G-forces or feeling associated with the small airplane, so that will also hinder the learning process. You will not be able to teach him if student is anxious. So as an instructor, you should help student to build confidence in you. So third one was anxiety. The fourth one is worry and lack of interest. If the student is always worried about something, maybe related to flying or outside flying at family issues, or it doesn't have interest in learning. So as an instructor, we should motivate, encourage student to keep him interested, and also if you think he's worrying about other stuff, help student to concentrate on the task on the hand. Fourth one can be physiological or just physical discomfort, illness, fatigue, dehydration. So we remember our I'm safe checklist. Make sure student has eaten or drink enough water. He's not ill, he's not on medication, he's well rested. So emphasize on this small and important task. Tell importance of this illnesses, or make sure he's not ill or he's not on medication and he's eating properly, well rested. Another one can be an obstacle is inadequate instruction. So student pay a lot of money to learn. Flying can be expensive. So for any lesson, if the instructor is not prepared and students sense that, that can be frustrating. And also it's not good as a flight instructor because you're not making use of your time. So that can be an obstacle in teaching too. So again, there were 5 obstacles: feeling of unfair treatment, impatience, impatient like they want to proceed to the interesting task, worry or lack of interest, physical discomfort, illness and fatigue and dehydration, apathy due to inadequate instruction, and anxiety. These are the obstacles of in learning during flight instruction. So the second one is demonstration and performance training delivery. Remember, in teaching process we had 3 types of learning. So the third one we talked about demonstration and performance training delivery, which we use for flight instruction or piloting skill. So I'll talk about it again. Performance and delivery training, demonstration and performance training delivery method has 4 steps. 4 phases. First one is explanation phase. In explanation phase, instructor will talk to student, give him overall picture, give him what is expecting, what are the goals, what to do, how to do, all the necessary steps for performing this skill. And also, if student have any question, instructor need to ask before proceeding to the second stage. The second stage is demonstration stage. Here, the instructor will perform this skill, perform all the steps as he explained in explanation stage. In the performance, in the demonstration stage, if instructor is doing something different than what he's told earlier, then immediately need to tell student why he's doing differently, why there is a variation, to avoid confusion. Third one, it's now student perform and instructor supervise. So here the student get opportunity to be on controls, or student gets time to perform or practice. He cannot be good at the first time, so you as instructor help student to repeat, and whatever you perform in demonstration, he will try to reproduce the same skill. Once you have enough practice and you think the standards are met, then we move to the 4th stage, that is evaluation stage. In evaluation stage, student will perform all the maneuver or the task skill independent of instructor. So this is an opportunity to you see if the student is meeting the standards, and also you will also know if your instructions were effective. So that was demonstration and performance training delivery method for flight instruction. The third one, positive exchange of control. I cannot overemphasize how important that is, because FAA says many flight accident happens because pilots are unavailable, or they are unaware that who is on the control. So it is very important to have clear understanding that who is on control. And if you want to exchange the control, we practice 3-way exchange method. So if I'm an instructor, I want to give controls to the student, I will say you have the control, student say I have the control, and I say you have the control. And if student wants to give you the flight control, he say you have the control, I say I have the control, and he say you have the control, and then you take the control. So we always want to make sure we emphasize from day one who is on flight control, how we are going to make exchange of the flight control, and always follow 3-step exchanging method. The 4th one is sterile cockpit. This is also very important now. Accident happens when pilots are distracted. So to minimize the distraction when we are performing critical flight task, for like ground operation, taxiing, takeoff, landing, we need to tell student or passenger about not talking or no distraction. So distraction can be talking, using phone, cell phone, which are not related to flying, reading newspaper, taking picture, looking outside, um, eating. Even part 121, the airline operation, they recommend that they should not be having talking or eating or drinking coffee below 10,000 feet. But as our general aviation, all uh, taxiing, ground operation, taking off, landing, or in performing critical tasks, we should maintain sterile cockpit. We should brief the passenger, brief the student what is important. Flying is first. Control of the airplane is must, and other tasks are just not important. So now number 5 is use of distraction. Again, as per the FAA, what they say that the stall or spin happens when pilots are distracted. So FAA encourage flight instructor to incorporate distraction in training, and as an instructor to incorporate distraction. Why it is important? Because then the student will be aware of practicing division of attention. So doing two tasks but still maintain positive control on the airplane. So how, as an instructor, how you will incorporate that? You can just drop a pencil, ask student to pick it up, ask student to pick up something from the back seat, ask student to calculate the heading to the another airport, or figure out some instrument, just set the instrument again, set alarm clock, look out for outside temperature, stuff like that. So you need to help student to practice division of attention. No matter what he's doing, flying airplane, having control of the airplane is the first priority. The sixth one is integrated flight instruction. Okay, so integrated flight instruction is very important. We teach our student from day one how to perform flying or maneuvers, level flight, and all the flying with the reference of outside and inside the instrument reference. So we make student habit to cross check the instrument. VFR is we say 90% outside and 10% inside, or 99% outside, 1% inside. From the briefing from the ground will help student how the perception, how would the horizon look when you are on the straight and level climb, how would the tree line will look with respect to student as per his height, how would it look, where would you keep the nose if when you are climbing or descending or level flight, and how would each instrument look like, how to read the instrument. Before starting new maneuvers, you would also tell student how to cross check the instrument, how would the instrument will read, how would the horizon will look. So he will have a habit of cross checking the instrument at all the time, looking outside, looking inside. That will also help for better performance of the airplane, because if the student is monitoring the instrument, then if he's setting power correctly, he is maintaining the altitude, maintaining the heading, then the performance, the cruise performance or landing performance or takeoff performance would increase. So if student is maintaining VY, maneuvering speed, gliding speed, it is good for the performance too, plus for the safety, we'll talk about it. Will help student to do procedures and how to do the procedure. Now for safety, see and avoid. We need to tell student when you're looking outside from day one to look for traffic and not to be dependent on instructor, because accident happens in VFR condition when instructor is on board. So a student pilot or a student should make this habit and a practice for looking for traffic and not depending on the instructor. Help student to clear area before doing any maneuver. Talk about runway incursion. Help student how to look for the traffic, how to scan for the traffic. Talk teach student the right of way rules and make sure he understand those rules. Also, remember, if ATC make mistake, don't be dependent on ATC. Pilot always have a large chance to avoid the collision. So help student to practice, see and avoid. Number 7, assessment of piloting ability. So as a flight instructor, every time we need to make sure that we are assessing, we are assessment, okay, we are assessing the piloting skill, because as a flight instructor is the only one who knows if the student is ready for solo flight, and this is a big responsibility. So before student go for solo, we need to be consistent, and we need to monitor student, that student is consistent from starting from pre-flight, starting engine to engine shutdown. He's following all the process, he has full control of the airplane, he's able to communicate, navigate, his takeoff landing are precise, he knows decision making, he's thoughtful in making decision. So and he's been doing that many times consistently, and you're confident in your student before signing for solo or for practical test. So when you're actually sending student for the solo, then make sure you are there. You just don't endorse, you are there because you want to make sure, just for motivation. Also make sure that the winds are okay, there are not too much crazy winds going on, the traffic is not congested, the runways are the regular runways are in use, there's nothing something crazy going on. So be present, be there for the student. If possible, try to have a handheld radio so you can talk to student in case of the emergency or situation change, you can terminate the solo flight. Also, we after the post solo flight, we give talk to him and we brief them. We ask, we talk to student if he has a questions, because he just had the vivid memory of the solo. So if he had any question, how was the experience? So he would have question and help them student to do better, and that will give you an opportunity that what did he face, anything different, did he have any problem when he was on solo. So this is an opportunity to teach and reteach after the solo flight too. And every post flight, we always want to evaluate student after every flight. So we will in the last lesson we learned about the collaborative assessment, where you ask certain question, replay, reconstruct, redirect question, so we ask exact question or roller assessment, possibly write down the post flight assessment, write down the problems or work area. You can also write the student is performing excellent, poor, training needed, and keep it for your record for the future use. Now correction of the student error. So when you are in the flight instruction, you're teaching student, of course it is important to correct for the errors, but if the safety permits, we should allow error to happen, and student or part of the error to happen, so student can figure out how to come out of the situation. Let him practice. And certain sometimes if you think that student is performing okay but he doesn't understand the principle, and you have that you observe that, then give variation to student, ask student to do the same maneuver in different tasks, and then see if in the variation if he's doing okay, and that will help student to understand better. Pilot supervision. So pilot supervision is also is when you always observe the student is performing right, he is following correct step, he is ready, he is consistent in his performance, he is not depending on you before you sign up for solo. Then dealing with normal challenges. Dealing with normal challenges means if you think at the proper this particular effort you have certain challenges with the traffic, use of runways, how to get into the pattern, unexpected wind changes or runway changes. So you should keep your student prepared for everyday challenges by practicing before you soloing the student. Then the visualization is basically you give them real-time scenarios, some scenario-based training. Keep asking question, what happens with the lower fuel, and let student logically think and critically think and give your answer. So that will give him a decision-making ability. Then when we practice landing, make sure you emphasize to land within the first one third of the runway. That will give student opportunity to stop and he has enough landing distance. And FA also says you should always practice full stop landing because the student know the correct procedure and follow how to follow checklist after landing. And if the you suspect the approach is not right, something is not looking good, always initiate go around and student knows how to go around. If student bounce on the first landing, you help student to initiate go around. So when the student is going to go solo, he is well equipped for performing solo flight. Then for practical recommendations, the same thing. Flight instructor, you are the person who knows when student is ready. So make sure you take this opportunity to evaluate thoroughly that he is ready for practical test or for solo flight. If anything goes wrong, FAA will help. It is logical for FAA to hold instructor accountable if the training was not proper. So as an instructor you need to be careful when you're recommending for practical tests. We follow advisory circular 61.65 and for endorsement, and also we need to go on FAA website to fill up a form, and both your flight endorsement and flight skill date and the form date should match. So that was your assessment piloting ability. Okay, so aeronautical decision making, this is a long video, I will talk about it in different video, but hopefully it helped you. I'm sorry if I made a mistake, I know the board is not clear, but I'm not a professional video maker. I thought if I can help even one person out there to get you motivated and start working on their lesson plan to give you basic idea. And thank you, all the best. Thank you.